What's a good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. And if you've been sleeping on the news, it's all right, I got you. Donna Ponte is a sneaky good GM candidate that I'm sure will make the compiled list of names that the 33rd team puts together for Woody Johnson to review as part of the interviews that they conduct here. And there's two things I want to point out real quick before we dive into the background and some of the roles. For starters, keep in mind we had to think outside of the box. From a media public perspective, the New York Jets are a circus show, a toxic environment of what not to do if you want to run a successful NFL operation. And there's a reason why many people are calling for us to have a director of football operations or whatever title along that same ranking that you want to put out there. So this is a very heads up play, in my opinion, if the rumors are true in that not only is she a hot name, but there is a strong connection to the Jets here. The second piece is, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but based on her experience, she is along the likes of the John Izek types when it comes to GMs. Don't let that persuade you, though. And what I mean by that is that she's strong with numbers, etc. But don't let that persuade you. There's so much more to Dawn here, and I'm really excited to chat about it. So, for starters, it's worth mentioning the connection starts because she was a former intern starting out with us while she was working her way through college, and she worked herself up through the ranks fairly well, right? We'll talk about when we get into roles, but she got as high as being a director for the New York Jets. And I say she has a wealth of experience, right? For one, you're talking about a lady that has 25 plus years of experience between NFL teams and working for the NFL directly. And she's at least worth mentioning that people think she's credible enough to actually earn a role here because she interviewed with the Chargers for their open GM position last offseason. One of the things that really intrigues me is that this lady always seems like she's doing a multitude of things at once. And whether you want to frame yourself as a CEO style person, etc., multitasking and being able to thrive under pressure are the most, I don't want to say basic fundamentals, but one of the strongest indicators of somebody that can succeed in a role like this. And you're talking about someone that not only was completing analyst work as a cap specialist for us around the same time that she was doing trying to earn additional degrees at Wagner College. She was also completing her New York law school at the same time that she was working in the NFL as well. And so that combination of experience not only makes her very intriguing from the standpoint that we should stay out of hot water from like a tampering and legal standpoint and different things of that nature, but also, this is a specialist with the numbers that could really put us at an advantage when it comes to going out there and finding stars that actually fit the mold of what this New York Jets team wants to be in the future, or not handing out ridiculous contracts and things that, are albatrosses out there. So I'm really excited for that standpoint because there's a lot of stuff we need to clean up in terms of dead money that we're going to have sitting around here. And that's before, we even figure out what's going to happen with Rodgers. Now, she would make history. If she does become the GM for the New York Jets, she'd be the first woman to do so in the NFL. And I seen something along the lines of only the second woman in the 4 major sports in the U.S. to reach that same status. So I'll always root for that, especially if she is worthy of it. And based on her experience, I would say that's strongly the case. Now, she worked for the Jets between 1994 and 2005. She also had stints with the Browns and the Dolphins. But let's get into some of the roles and what she's done here. She ended up going all the way from an intern to senior director of football operations for the New York Jets. She went to the NFL Management Council after that and was the vice president of labor finance. And she was working through things like CBA, contract drafts and disagreements, et cetera, et cetera. Then she went to vice president of football operations and the chief contract negotiator for the Browns. After that, moving to executive vice president of football operations for the Dolphins. And she also ended up having a bit of an overlap here during this entire time with Mike Tannenbaum and Bill Parcells. Bill Belichick was also a name that I've seen thrown out there as a mentor of sorts for her. So you love that trio, maybe duo more so when you think about the two Bills. But still, Mike Tannenbaum also had a stretch of decent success in the GM chair before things fell off. And then ultimately in the role that she's currently suited in, Chief Administrator of Football Operations for the NFL, which makes her the highest ranking female in NFL operations or administration at large, which is an impressive feat no matter how you look at it. So with all of that said, she went from all of the numbers type positions you can think of, right? Intern, I forget what the exact position was, but basically working with contracts and cap situations at large to overseeing an entire football operation. She also had a small stint with the New York Jets as well, where she had 1 or 2 years being an NFL personnel scout. And so she does have a little bit of that to her bag as well. The only concerns I would have is that it's not a strong enough scouting background in this, right? But there is a good way to spin this and look at it. If she can put together a highly effective football operation, then you're talking about having a top tier medical staff, right? So injuries, recovery, issues with that should go much better. You're talking about having a top-notch coaching staff. So now you have a head coach with an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator that can take the pressure off the head coach to run things as a CEO. The OC and the DC should be able to put together some top-tier units ideally for us, and then you start building a pipeline of guys to replace them as they get recognized and move on forward. And in this New York market, if you're going to have success, you're definitely going to have a ton of doors that open up for you. And you know, the final piece to that would be the scouting department, right? I think the New York Jets have been able to find some success here with Joe Douglas, and I would say the picks have been more concerning to a degree, if you want to be, half glass empty here when it's come to Joe Douglas, rather than players that just aren't NFL caliber, right? We're not talking about our Calvin Pryors or our, D Milliners that are, one and done in terms of first contract and then gone out of the league with little to, if any, opportunities afterwards. So, yes, there will be some concerns about can she do the job of drafting and putting together strong draft classes, but I think she would know that is a weakness and that she would make that an overbearing point of emphasis when she puts together her team. Other than that, though, everything else about the resume I really, really love, because I think, if anything, I don't want to say drafting should be the least of your worries, but there's so much more to it that we don't really get news of or abreast in conversations about, right? Cap situations, handling player, right? Player management. You're going to have all the paperwork pushing and stuff that's going on, obviously coordinating all of the stuff, and you have some of these people below you, but if anybody's ever been in a leadership position before, especially a high-ranking one, you know that ultimately everybody tends to go through you, whether that's just for a thumbs up that things are looking good and they're doing a decent job, or there are actual concerns and, according to the hierarchy and et cetera, they're coming to you. This is a lady that I feel like can course correct things for the Jets. So I would be all for it. But ultimately, let me know what you guys think. I do think this is a sneaky good option to at least interview and see how she compares up against some of the big names that we've already put out there, like a Ray Agnew or Mike Borgonzi. So nonetheless, again, let me know your thoughts. I'll catch you guys again. Peace.